Okay, this is Bianca Olivares from my SAT prep class. She was involved in the peer tutoring jigsaw learning group. She was in the group where they taught jigsaw style. So she is my experimental group, the one that I'm focusing the research on. Okay, so Bianca, how do you think your unit went as a whole? How well did you think you did?
Overall, I think it went really well because the students seemed to like the individual groups better.
Do you think comparatively, do you think that your group had more success than the whole groups?
I think so because the people got our peers or whatever, they got individual attention. They all seemed to like that and got all their questions answered.
Okay. Based off, each group had some sort of writing assignment to go with it of some sort. Do you think that the students did better on your writing assignment because it was individual? Or do you think that the groups did better with the whole group writing assignments? Like with Latricia's group and with the other groups?
I think we did better in our writing assignments because since we had that individual attention, they could get their questions answered and work at their own pace, kind of they had more time to be and they got to add they got more attention. Yeah, pretty much. I think they like that a lot.
So they were structured to get their own pace, which you think was important, instead of being forced to fit to a certain deadline.
Yeah, and they had me right there with them, and it was just them three. They liked it.
Well, good. Do you think that the lesson would have gone differently if the 5 of you just stood in front of the class and presented it all together? Do you think it would have been different?
I think so because we might have had a lot of more questions jumbled up together like there was in the other groups.
So it wouldn't have been organized where you would have been assigned to a certain group to kind of be in charge of, essentially.
Yeah, it would have been a bit more disorganized and some of the students talked back in other groups and stuff, and in our group everything went smooth.
Okay. What do you think could be worked on for next time? What do you think the students maybe didn't do so well in?
Well, my group did well, but I don't know about others. Maybe just work a little bit faster, maybe, I don't know. I think it was good overall. I don't think that would change much.
Well, let me compare it based off if I taught it or just the English teacher or whomever taught the class. Do you think that your group did better because you were able to break it down in a small group, or do you think it would have been better if I just presented it as a story with the document camera and we read it together and did everything together individually? What do you think would have been better?
Well, either way would have been good because I like it when a teacher teaches, but that's just me personally. But I don't know, that would be good. The way we went about it, it was good too because they got their individual attention, and they might not be as ashamed to ask questions because it's we're their peers, so they know us.
I want to ask you about that, not being ashamed to ask you. Do you think the kids were more comfortable asking each other and you questions than they would be asking me questions?
Yeah, because if they asked you, they'd probably have to ask you in front of the whole class, and in our little groups it was just us, and we were all we all knew each other, so it was all good.
Okay, so you think doing it where the peers teach each other, you think that was an effective lesson. Even though it took a lot of time for us to read the stories and teach it, you think that it was useful because you got a deeper knowledge?
Yeah, I think it was.
How do you think you learned the reading comprehension with the SAT better? Or how do you think it went because you had to become a master in your story? Do you think that played any role in how well you understood your story?
Yeah, that played a huge role because I have reread it a lot of times and got the vocabulary down, and since I had to teach it, I had to know what I was talking about, so I really got a really good understanding of it, and I hope my peers did too, and I think they did. They answered all their questions really well.
Would you have understood it as well if I just presented it to the class and then we just read it and did an assessment and tested on it, or however we would have done it?
I probably would have understood it, but not as well because I went really in depth with the story since I had to teach it and know what I was talking about. I had to teach them.
What do you think went better? Do you think you learned more about yourself by having to teach, or do you think you learned more from the other groups?
I think it was even, but I kind of did learn from myself by having to teach.
Okay, so that was similar to what Morgan said. You think that because you had to become an expert, you almost, in a way, you almost kind of taught yourself a little bit because you only had your teaching group to work with and you kind of had to make sure each of you knew it, essentially. Is there anything you would change or do differently next time, either with the students or with me or however it went?
I would make sure the students have a better attitude about it, because there was some groups that wasn't my group or any of our individual groups, but when we had the whole group as a whole and people stand up and teach, like some students would talk back and be rude to the teachers just because they aren't like actual teachers, and I think maybe they should change their attitudes about it.
Very good observation. Now, just to make that clear, you're talking about when the whole groups were teaching, not your group.
That's when like people started talking back, when it was the whole class. But in our individual groups, like everything like went smoothly.
Do you think that would have happened if your group taught whole group? Do you think they would have tried to speak that way towards you?
Probably, because they seem to want to do it with everybody else.
Okay. That was very true. I remember having to get them to calm down a little bit when, I let a lot go since I was letting them experiment with teaching, but just my opinion, I think that your group probably was the most successful. Academically wise, your kids performed the best. As far as like writing and everything, your kids, each of your individual groups did really well. Any other comments for things to change for next time? Maybe something I could do, maybe prep them more on how they need to behave or anything else like that?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.